The sun was only beginning to rise when a soft alarm tone broke the silence of a small room. The air was cool, the curtains fluttered gently, and a young woman stirred awake. Her name was Maya, a simple girl with dreams far bigger than the small world she lived in. She rubbed her eyes slowly, sat up, and looked around her room. There wasn't much there. A small bed, a wooden table, a cracked mirror, and a shelf holding her few books and certificates. For a moment, she just sat there in silence. Today was special. Today could change everything. She whispered to herself, "This is it, Maya. Today is your chance." It was the day of her long-awaited interview. She had applied for a position at one of the biggest companies in the city, a company she had admired for years. She didn't know anyone there, didn't have fancy degrees or connections, but she had hope, and that was enough to get her moving. She got out of bed quickly and began to get ready. Her mother, who was already awake, entered the room holding a cup of tea. "You didn't sleep much last night," her mother said softly. Maya smiled. "Too nervous, Ma. My mind was running all night." Her mother chuckled and set the cup on the table. "Drink your tea and eat something. You can't face big dreams on an empty stomach," Maya nodded. She looked at her outfit, a neatly ironed light blue kurta with simple black pants. It wasn't new, but she had washed and pressed it carefully the night before. Her shoes were clean, though a bit worn out. She didn't care about that. She only hoped people would see her confidence and not her clothes. After finishing her tea, she opened her folder, her certificates, a printed resume, and a few letters of recommendation from her college. She ran her fingers over the papers as if checking they were all still there. Then she tucked them neatly inside her old leather bag. Her mother came closer, placing a hand on her shoulder. "You've worked hard for this, Maya. Don't let fear stop you." "I won't," Maya said with a quiet smile. She bent down to touch her mother's feet, a gesture of respect she had done since childhood. Her mother's eyes filled with warmth and pride. "Go, my girl. Make your mark." Maya left home just as the sky turned gold. The street was coming alive with the sound of vegetable vendors calling out, buses honking, and people rushing to work. She took a deep breath and began walking toward the main road, her heart light but her mind focused. The bus stop was already crowded. She found a spot near the back, holding her bag tightly. She kept glancing at her watch. She had planned everything perfectly. If she caught the 7:15 bus, she'd reach the office by 8:45, just in time for her 9 o'clock interview. When the bus arrived, she climbed aboard and found a seat near the window. The morning air brushed her face as the bus moved through the city. She watched the tall buildings appear one by one, feeling both excited and small. She imagined herself walking confidently into the company's office, shaking hands, and answering questions with grace. She imagined calling her mother afterward to say, "Ma, I got the job." The thought made her smile. After about 40 minutes, the bus stopped at a signal. Maya looked outside. People rushing across the road, traffic police blowing whistles, a dog chasing a rickshaw. Ordinary moments that she found oddly comforting. When the bus finally reached her stop, she got off carefully, adjusting her bag on her shoulder. The company building was still a 15-minute walk from there. The air was warm now and the sun was brighter. She walked quickly but gracefully, trying to stay calm. As she passed a narrow street, something caught her attention. A car parked awkwardly on the side, its hood open. A man stood beside it, looking frustrated. Smoke rose slightly from the engine. She slowed down for just a second. He was wearing a plain white shirt and dark trousers. He didn't look poor, but not like someone who'd get his hands dirty fixing a car either. He was struggling to push it slightly, but the car wouldn't move. People walked past him without stopping. Some looked at him, then turned away. Maya's first thought was, "I can't stop, I'll be late." She looked at her watch. It was already 8:20. She had just enough time to make it if she kept walking. But something inside her wouldn't let her ignore him. Her mother's words from that morning echoed in her mind. "Don't let fear stop you." She bit her lip, hesitated a moment longer, then turned toward him. "Excuse me, sir," she said politely, walking closer. "Do you need help?" The man looked up, surprised. "Oh, I think so." The car just stopped suddenly. "It's blocking the way and I can't get it to move." "Let's push it to the side," she said. He blinked. "You'll help?" She smiled slightly. "I can't fix it, but I can help move it." At least it'll be out of the road. He seemed uncertain but nodded. All right, thank you. I really appreciate it. They both went behind the car. Maya adjusted her bag strap and started pushing with both hands. The car was heavier than she thought. Her shoes slipped a little on the uneven road, but she kept pushing. The man joined in, steering slightly. Slowly, the car rolled forward a few feet, then another few. Sweat formed on her forehead. Her arms began to ache, but she didn't stop. After a few more pushes, they managed to get it off the road. She stepped back, breathing heavily, wiping her forehead with the edge of her dupatta. Thank you so much, the man said, clearly relieved. You didn't have to do that. It's okay, she said with a smile. You were alone. It's good it's out of the way now. He nodded, looking at her with a bit of surprise, maybe not used to strangers stopping to help. You're very kind, he said. Can I at least offer you a ride somewhere? I think I can get it started again. She shook her head quickly. No, thank you. I have somewhere to be. I'm already late. At least tell me your name, he asked, almost insisting. Maya, she replied softly. I'm Raj, he said, offering a small smile. I owe you one, Maya, she smiled back. You don't owe me anything. Just pay it forward someday. With that, she gave a small wave and hurried away, glancing at her watch again. It was 8:40 now. She had 20 minutes to reach the office, and she still had to cross 2 blocks. She started walking fast, almost running at times, her heart racing. The sun was harsher now, and her palms were dirty from pushing the car. She stopped briefly near a small tea stall to wash her hands with a bit of water from a bottle she carried. She reached the company street by 8:55. The building stood tall and glassy, with people walking in and out confidently, dressed in formal suits. Maya took a deep breath. Her heart pounded as she entered the gate. Inside, the lobby was grand. Shiny floors, a large reception desk, and a wall displaying the company's name in silver letters. She walked to the receptionist, adjusting her dupatta nervously. Good morning, she said softly. I'm here for the interview. 9 o'clock, marketing trainee position. The receptionist looked up from her computer. Name? Maya, she said. The woman scanned a list and then frowned slightly. You're late, Ms. Maya. The interview started at 8:30. Maya's face fell. But my letter said 9 o'clock. Yes, but the panel began early today. They already finished your group slot. You were supposed to report at 8:30 for registration. Maya's throat went dry. Please, I didn't know. I came as fast as I could. The receptionist gave a polite but firm smile. I'm sorry. The next round is already in session. You can leave your resume, but I can't promise they'll call you. Maya felt her chest tighten. All that effort, the early morning, the preparation, gone. Is there any way I could just meet someone? She asked, her voice small but hopeful. Just for 5 minutes? I'm afraid not, the receptionist said gently. The panel is strict about timing. Maya nodded slowly, blinking back the sting in her eyes. Okay, she whispered. She handed over her folder, thanked the receptionist, and turned away. She walked outside and sat on a bench near the building's entrance. The sound of city traffic buzzed around her, but she felt numb. For a few minutes, she just sat there staring at her hands. They were still a little dirty, faint traces of grease left from the car. She rubbed them together, tears threatening to fall. She thought about that moment on the road, how she had stopped, how she had helped. A small part of her regretted it now. If she hadn't, she'd be inside that room, maybe answering questions, maybe even impressing them. But another part of her, the part that had made her stop, whispered quietly inside her heart. You did the right thing. She sighed deeply and looked up at the sky. The morning light had softened again. She reached into her bag, pulled out a small packet of biscuits her mother had packed for her, and broke one absent-mindedly. Across the street, she saw office workers laughing, walking into cafes, talking on their phones. Life moved on, uncaring of her small loss. She smiled weakly. It's okay, she said softly to herself. Maybe next time. She stood up, brushed the dust from her clothes, and began to walk toward the bus stop. As she walked, she didn't notice a black car parked a short distance away, the same one she had helped push earlier. Inside, Raj sat quietly, watching her through the windshield. He recognized her instantly, that same calm face, that same determined walk. He had been waiting for a mechanic, but now he watched the girl who had helped him walk away from the very building he owned. He frowned slightly, curiosity flickering in his eyes. She looked tired, maybe disappointed, but there was something about her that made him think. A kind of quiet strength, a grace that didn't need attention. He didn't say anything then. He just watched her disappear into the crowd. Maya caught the next bus home. She sat near the window again, resting her head against the glass. The city moved past her in blurs of color and noise. She replayed the morning in her mind, her mother's smile, her rush to the bus stop, the man with the broken car. It all felt like a strange dream. When she reached home, her mother opened the door eagerly. "How was it?" she asked. Maya forced a small smile. "I was late, Ma. I missed it." Her mother's face fell, but she didn't say anything for a moment. She just reached out and hugged her tightly. "It's okay, Beta," she whispered. "If you miss this one, another will come. Sometimes God delays things to test our heart." Maya nodded against her shoulder, her eyes closing. "I hope so." That night, as she lay in bed, she stared at the ceiling, the events of the day still fresh in her mind. She didn't know that her small act of kindness, one she had already forgotten, had set something in motion. Somewhere in that big city, a man named Raj couldn't stop thinking about her, the simple girl who had stopped to help when no one else did. And that was how her story truly began. The next morning came quietly. The air in Maya's little room felt heavier than usual. The sunlight crept through the curtain, brushing her face, but she didn't feel like getting up. She had barely slept the night before, her mind replaying everything that had happened. She kept thinking of that moment, running toward the building. The receptionist's voice, the disappointment that followed. It was supposed to be her day. She had pictured it so many times, yet it had slipped away, just like that. Her mother knocked softly on the door and entered with a gentle smile. "You're awake?" Maya nodded. "I couldn't sleep much." Her mother placed a cup of tea beside her bed and sat down. "Don't be sad, Beta. Life doesn't always go the way we plan. Sometimes something better is waiting." Maya sighed. "I know, Ma, but it's hard. I worked so hard for that chance." Her mother took her hand. "And you'll get another one. Maybe the reason you missed that interview was because God wanted you somewhere else." Maya smiled faintly. "You always say that." "Because it's true," her mother replied softly. "You did the right thing by helping that man. That kindness will come back to you, just wait and see." Maya didn't reply. She looked down at her cup, the steam curling gently upward. She wanted to believe her mother, but part of her felt that dreams didn't always reward good people. Sometimes they just demanded more patience. After breakfast, she sat near the window watching children play in the street. She tried to push away the heavy thoughts and decided to send out her resume to more companies. She borrowed her neighbor's old laptop and spent the rest of the morning typing emails, checking job portals and hoping someone would reply. Meanwhile, across the city, Raj sat in his office in a large, bright room overlooking the skyline. His assistant entered with a file, listing the candidates who had attended yesterday's interviews. Raj flipped through it absent-mindedly, but his mind wasn't really on the papers. He couldn't stop thinking about the girl he'd met the day before. Her name, he remembered, was Maya. He remembered how she'd pushed the car without hesitation, how her hands were covered in grease, yet she had smiled as if it didn't matter. She hadn't even waited to be thanked properly. She had simply done what needed to be done. Raj had seen people in business suits ignore him that morning while he was standing by the car. Some had even frowned, thinking he was just another driver or worker. But that one girl, she had stopped. He tapped his pen against the desk and looked toward the window. The thought bothered him in a good way. People rarely helped others without expecting something in return. It was rare. It was real. He turned to his assistant. "Do you have the registration list from yesterday's interviews?" The assistant blinked. "Yes, sir." "But why?" Raj smiled slightly. "I just want to check something." He skimmed through the list again, looking for her name. And there it was, Maya, unmarked as absent. "Absent," he repeated quietly, leaning back in his chair. Of course. He realized then why she had been near the office yesterday. She hadn't just been passing by, she was one of the applicants. Raj closed the file slowly. He didn't say anything for a while. Then he turned to his assistant again. "Find her resume. I want to see it." Within a few minutes, the assistant came back with a folder. Raj opened it carefully. The resume was simple, nothing fancy. But what caught his attention was the tone of her writing. It wasn't filled with big words or exaggerated claims. It was honest. He smiled slightly. Interesting, he murmured. Later that day, he sent a quick email to the HR department. Please schedule a personal interview for candidate Maya. I'd like to meet her myself. He didn't explain why. He didn't need to. Back in her small home, Maya was helping her mother chop vegetables when her old phone buzzed. It was a new email. She wiped her hands quickly and opened it. For a few seconds, she just stared at the screen, not believing what she was reading. Her mother noticed her frozen expression. What happened? It's, she said slowly, still reading. It's from the same company. They want me to come for another interview tomorrow. Her mother's eyes widened. See, what did I tell you? Maya couldn't stop smiling now. But why would they call me again? I thought I missed my chance. Does it matter? Her mother said, laughing. They called you. That's what matters. Maybe they saw something in your resume. Maya's heart raced. She felt excitement and nervousness all at once. It felt like life had suddenly given her a second chance. That night, she ironed her clothes again, cleaned her shoes, and even polished the small silver earrings her mother had given her on her graduation day. She practiced answering questions in front of the mirror, smiling awkwardly but trying to look confident. Her mother peeked in and said teasingly, "You'll wear out your smile before the interview even begins." They both laughed, the room filling with light again after a long day of worry. The next morning, Maya woke up before her alarm. The nervousness was back, but this time it came with hope. She got ready carefully, double-checking everything. Before leaving, her mother pressed a small piece of sweet into her hand. "For luck," she said. "Thank you, Ma," Maya replied, hugging her tightly. The streets were quieter than usual. The sky was cloudy, but the air felt fresh. Maya reached the office earlier this time, a whole 30 minutes before her scheduled time. She sat in the waiting area, her bag on her lap, her fingers clasped together tightly. One by one, other candidates went in and came out. She noticed their nervous smiles, the hurried looks, the whispered prayers. She wasn't alone in her anxiety. When her turn finally came, a woman from HR walked up to her and said, "Maya, please come with me." Maya stood up, straightened her dupatta, and followed. The woman led her down a long corridor with glass walls. At the end of it was a large door. The woman opened it gently and said, "Please go in." Maya took a deep breath and stepped inside. The room was spacious and bright, filled with natural light. Behind the desk sat a man in a crisp white shirt, typing something on his laptop. When he looked up, Maya froze for a moment. It was him, the man with the broken car. He smiled when he saw her. "Maya, right?" Her mouth opened slightly in surprise. You're the one from the road." He nodded. "And you're the one who helped me." Maya didn't know what to say. Her heart was racing and her hands felt cold. I didn't know you worked here," he chuckled softly. "I don't just work here. I run the place." She blinked, completely stunned. "You're the CEO?" "Yes," he said, leaning back in his chair. "And I must say I didn't expect to see you again so soon." Maya didn't know how to react. She stood awkwardly, unsure whether to apologize or smile. Raj gestured for her to sit. "Please, have a seat. I wanted to speak to you personally." She sat down slowly, clutching her bag. "I'm sorry about the other day," she said quickly. "I didn't mean to be late. He raised his hand slightly. "You don't have to explain. I know exactly why you were late." Her eyes widened. You do?" "Yes," he said with a faint smile. "You were helping me, and to be honest, I was more impressed by that than anything you could have said in an interview." Maya looked down, blushing slightly. "I just did what anyone would do." He shook his head. "Not anyone. I saw plenty of people walk past me. You were the only one who stopped." The room went quiet for a few seconds. Maya didn't know what to say. She had never imagined something like this would happen. Raj looked through her resume again, though he had already read it. "You studied marketing, right?" "Yes, sir," she said. "I finished my degree last year." He nodded. "Your resume is simple, but I can tell you're honest. Tell me, why do you want to work here?" Maya took a moment to think. "Because I want to learn. I may not know everything now, but I'm ready to work hard. I want to grow, sir, not just for myself, but for my mother. She's done everything for me." Raj listened carefully. Her voice carried sincerity, not rehearsed confidence. It reminded him of his own early days years ago, when he had started small and no one believed in him. He smiled softly. You know, I believe the right attitude is more important than experience. You've already shown me what kind of person you are. Maya frowned slightly. What do you mean? I mean, he said, that we need more people like you in this company. People who help without thinking twice. That kind of heart can't be taught. She looked at him, unsure if she had heard right. Are you saying I got the job? He leaned forward slightly, his smile widening. I'm saying you'll start as a trainee next week. We'll see how you do, and if you work hard, you'll go far. For a moment, Maya just sat there, frozen in disbelief. Then her eyes began to glisten. Thank you, sir, she said softly. Thank you so much, Raj nodded. Don't thank me. You earned it, Maya. Remember, good deeds find their way back, even if they take a while. When she left the room, her steps felt lighter than ever before. She clutched her bag close, her heart full of joy. The receptionist who had turned her away last time smiled at her now. Congratulations, she said kindly. Looks like things worked out. Maya smiled back. Yes, they did. Thank you. Outside, the sun had broken through the clouds. She stood for a moment, looking up at the bright sky, feeling like life had opened a new door, one she hadn't even knocked on. She took out her phone and called her mother. Ma, she said, her voice trembling with happiness. I got the job. Her mother's gasp on the other end made her smile even wider. I told you, didn't I? Her mother said, half crying, half laughing. Kindness never goes waste. Maya laughed through her tears. You were right, Ma. You always are. As she walked down the street that day, the world around her looked the same. People rushing, cars honking, vendors shouting. But something inside her had changed. She felt stronger, braver, and grateful for the strange twist of fate that had turned disappointment into opportunity. She didn't know what her new journey at the company would bring, but she knew one thing for sure: sometimes, life tests your patience to see if your heart is still kind when things go wrong, and if you stay kind, life finds a way to reward you. The first day of Maya's new job arrived faster than she expected. She woke up even before dawn, her stomach full of butterflies. The sky was still dark, but her heart was bright with excitement. She went through her morning routine carefully: neat clothes, light makeup, tidy hair. Her mother fussed over her the entire time, adjusting her collar, reminding her to carry lunch, and blessing her before she left. Remember, her mother said as Maya stood at the door, be honest, be humble, and never forget where you came from. I won't, Ma, Maya said, hugging her as she walked to the bus stop. The world looked a little different. The same street she had walked so many times now felt special. Every sound, every face, every turn seemed to whisper, you did it. When she reached the office building, she stopped for a moment at the entrance. The glass doors reflected her nervous smile. She took a deep breath and stepped inside. The receptionist, who remembered her from before, greeted her warmly this time. Welcome, Maya. You can go to the HR department on the second floor. They'll get you started. Maya nodded with a polite smile. She took the elevator up, clutching her bag tightly. Her palms were slightly sweaty, but she didn't let that bother her. The HR officer, a kind woman with a friendly face, welcomed her and handed her a stack of forms to fill out. Don't worry, it's just basic information, she said. Maya smiled shyly. Thank you. Once all the paperwork was done, the HR officer led her to her department, the marketing division. The room was large, with rows of desks, computer screens, and bright posters on the walls. A few people looked up as she entered. This is Maya, the HR officer introduced. She'll be joining as a trainee. A man in his 30s stood up from his chair and came forward. Welcome, he said, shaking her hand. I'm Ravi, team lead here. You'll be working with me. Nice to meet you, sir, Maya replied politely. He gave a quick smile. No need for sir. Just call me Ravi. She nodded, feeling a little more relaxed. Ravi showed her to her desk, a small but tidy space near the window. You can start by going through these project files, he said. We have a campaign coming up, and I want you to understand our work first. Maya thanked him and sat down. For the next few hours, she read through the documents carefully. She made notes, highlighted important points, and tried to absorb as much as she could. Every now and then, she glanced around the office and people typing quickly, talking on phones, laughing quietly among themselves. Everyone seemed so confident. She felt like a small fish in a big pond, but she was determined to learn fast. At lunchtime, she sat alone at a corner table with her homemade lunch. She didn't mind it. She was used to being quiet. But soon a cheerful voice broke her solitude. "Mind if I sit here?" Maya looked up to see a girl about her age holding a lunchbox and smiling. "Of course," Maya said, moving her bag aside. "I'm Ritu," the girl said as she sat down. "You're the new trainee, right?" "Yes," Maya said. "I just joined today." "Well, welcome. Don't worry, the first week is always a bit overwhelming. You'll get used to it." Ritu's warmth made Maya smile. They talked through lunch about work, food, family, even small things like traffic and favorite music. By the end of the break, Maya felt lighter. She had made her first friend. The rest of the day went smoothly. Ravi gave her some simple tasks to handle, and though she made a few small mistakes, he corrected her patiently. When the day ended, Maya walked out of the building feeling exhausted but proud. It had been a long day, but she had survived it, and that was a start. Over the next few weeks, she settled into her role. She came early every morning, eager to learn. She took notes during meetings, asked questions, and stayed back after hours when needed. Her dedication didn't go unnoticed. One afternoon, Ravi walked up to her desk. "Maya," he said, "the CEO wants to meet the new trainees tomorrow. It's just a short introduction, so don't be nervous." Her heart skipped. The CEO, Raj. It had been almost a month since their last meeting. She hadn't seen him since her interview, though she had sometimes spotted him walking across the office lobby from a distance. That night, she could barely sleep. Her mind kept replaying that day. The roadside, the broken car, his words, his kindness. She wondered if he would even remember her now. The next day, the trainees gathered in a small conference room. Raj entered quietly without any formality. His presence was calm but commanding. "Good morning, everyone," he said with a smile. "I know you're all new, but you're now part of something big. This company isn't just about numbers or profits, it's about people. Every success we've had started with someone's small idea or effort." He spoke simply, but his words carried weight. Maya watched him as he talked, her admiration growing quietly. He didn't act like most bosses she had imagined. There was humility in his tone. As he moved around the room, his eyes met hers for a brief moment. There was recognition there, a faint smile that only she seemed to notice. It made her heart skip again. After the session, Raj stopped near her. "Maya," he said, "I heard you've been doing well."
"Keep it up." She stood up quickly.
"Thank you, sir. I'm trying my best." "I know," he said softly. "That's all anyone can ask for." He left after that, but the moment stayed with her for days. As the months passed, Maya grew more confident. Her ideas started getting noticed. She handled small tasks at first, then gradually moved on to bigger responsibilities. Ravi trusted her with client presentations and research projects. Still, she never forgot her humble beginning. She helped new interns when they struggled. She shared her lunch with the office boy sometimes, and she never complained even on her toughest days. One afternoon, when everyone was busy preparing for a major presentation, a problem arose. The client wanted changes at the last minute. The team was in panic mode. Ravi had to leave suddenly for a family emergency, leaving Maya in charge. "Maya," he said before leaving, "I know it's a lot, but I trust you. Just make sure the slides are ready before the evening meeting." She nodded nervously. "I'll do my best." For the next few hours, she worked nonstop. The computer screen glowed in front of her as she typed, edited, and rechecked everything. A few teammates stayed back to help her, but she led the coordination. When Raj came to check on the progress later that evening, he found her still at her desk, hair tied back, her eyes focused. "How's it going?" he asked. She looked up, startled. "Sir, I was just finishing the last part." He glanced at the slides and nodded approvingly. "Looks good. You handled this." "Yes, sir," she said shyly. "Ravi had to leave, so I tried to manage." He smiled. "I'm impressed. You didn't wait for someone to tell you what to do, and you just did it. That's leadership." Her cheeks turned pink. "Thank you, sir. I just didn't want the team to fail." "That's exactly the kind of attitude I like to see," he said. "Keep it up, Maya." The presentation went smoothly. The client was happy and the project succeeded. The next day, the entire department applauded her effort. Ravi patted her on the shoulder. You saved us yesterday, he said proudly. Word of her work reached Raj, too. He mentioned her in the weekly meeting, praising her dedication. It was the first time her name was spoken in front of the entire team by the CEO himself. When she called her mother that evening, her voice was trembling with excitement. "Ma, the CEO appreciated me in front of everyone today." Her mother laughed happily. "See, my child, I told you good things come to those who do good." Maya smiled through the phone. "You were right again." Life began to feel brighter. Her hard work was paying off, and she finally believed she belonged there. Still, she remained humble. She didn't flaunt her praise or change her ways. She still took the same bus, ate her mother's packed lunch, and stopped to greet the security guard every morning. But not everyone liked her rise. A few colleagues, jealous of her growing reputation, began whispering behind her back. They said she was only favored because she had caught the CEO's attention. Maya overheard some of those comments one afternoon in the cafeteria. It stung deeply. She walked out quietly and sat alone near the office garden, fighting the urge to cry. Just then, Raj happened to walk by. Seeing her sitting there, he stopped. "Everything okay, Maya?" She quickly wiped her eyes and stood up. "Yes, sir, just needed some fresh air." He looked at her for a moment, then said gently, "Don't let small minds bother you. When people talk behind your back, it means you're ahead of them." She smiled weakly. "I'll try to remember that," he nodded. "And remember one more thing. You're here because you deserve it, not because of luck." Those words stayed with her. That evening, she returned to her desk and continued her work with renewed focus. She refused to let gossip or jealousy steal her peace. Weeks later, she was promoted from trainee to junior executive. When the news came, she could hardly believe it. She had been at the company for only 6 months, and now she was officially part of the permanent staff. Her mother cried tears of joy when she heard the news. "My little girl is growing up," she said proudly. That night, Maya stood on the balcony of her small home looking up at the stars. Her heart was full, not with pride, but with gratitude. She thought of that morning months ago. The broken car, the missed interview, the moment she almost gave up. If she had walked past that man like everyone else, her life would have been completely different. Sometimes, she realized, destiny hides behind the smallest decisions, and as she looked at the night sky, she whispered softly, "Thank you, life, for giving me a second chance." Far away in his office, Raj sat alone, thinking about the young girl who had unknowingly reminded him why he had built his company in the first place. Not just to create profit, but to find people who believed in goodness and effort. He smiled to himself and thought, maybe it was fate after all. The weeks after Maya's promotion were filled with both excitement and pressure. Her workload doubled and expectations rose. Everyone looked at her differently now, some with respect, some with envy, and some with quiet doubt. She wanted to prove that she was more than just a lucky story. She wanted to show she had earned her place. One morning, she was called into Ravi's office. He looked serious but calm. "Maya," he said, "there's a new project coming in, one of our biggest clients. The CEO wants you to be part of the core team." Her eyes widened. "Me? Yes, you've been doing great and he trusts your ideas. But it's not going to be easy. You'll have to work late nights, meet clients, and handle pressure. Are you ready?" Maya nodded immediately. "I'll do my best." Ravi smiled faintly. "I knew you'd say that." The next few days were intense. The project involved creating a nationwide campaign for a new product. Meetings, brainstorming sessions, presentations, everything was fast-paced. Raj, the CEO, attended some of the key meetings himself. Every time he entered the room, the energy shifted. People straightened up, spoke more carefully, paid extra attention, but when he spoke to Maya, his tone remained gentle and encouraging, as if he saw something in her others didn't. One evening, as the team prepared for a client meeting, Maya stayed back late to finish some reports. The office was almost empty, except for a few lights still on. She was working quietly when she heard footsteps. Looking up, she saw Raj walking toward her. "Still here?" he asked. "Yes, sir," she said, smiling slightly. "Just finishing the presentation for tomorrow." He looked at the screen and nodded. "You've been working hard. I can see that. It's a big project," she replied. "I don't want to disappoint anyone." He smiled. "You remind me of myself years ago. I used to stay late like this too. Not because I had to, but because I wanted to build something meaningful. She paused for a second. I understand that, sir. It feels good to do something that matters. He studied her quietly for a moment. You know, Maya, I've met many people in this company, but very few have your sincerity. You're different. She didn't know what to say. She looked down, feeling a strange warmth in her chest. Thank you, sir, she said softly. He nodded. Go home soon. You've done enough for today. As he left, she sat still for a moment, staring at the empty doorway. A part of her felt proud, another part nervous. She didn't want anyone to think she was getting special treatment. The next morning, the client meeting went perfectly. Maya's presentation impressed everyone. She spoke with confidence and clarity, explaining her ideas with genuine passion. Even the clients nodded in approval. After the meeting, Raj pulled her aside and said, Excellent work. You have a natural way of connecting with people. Never lose that. Her smile said everything. Over time, she became an important part of the project. She coordinated teams, handled tough calls, and even represented the company in smaller client discussions. Her confidence grew, but she stayed grounded. One Friday evening, as the team celebrated the project's halfway success, Ravi made a toast. To Maya, he said, raising his glass, at the heart of this campaign. Everyone clapped, cheering her name. Maya laughed shyly, shaking her head. It's a team effort, she said. Raj wasn't there that evening. He had left early for another meeting. But later that night, she received a message from an unknown number. I heard the team did great today. Congratulations, you deserve the praise. She smiled, knowing instantly who it was. She replied simply, Thank you, sir. It means a lot. That single exchange became something she thought about for hours. As months passed, Maya's bond with the company, and unknowingly with Raj, grew deeper. He often asked for her opinions in meetings, sometimes even invited her to observe higher-level discussions. Her coworkers noticed but couldn't say much because she always delivered results. Yet, the gossip returned, soft whispers in corners, stolen glances in the cafeteria. Some called her lucky. Others said she was favored. Maya heard it all, but she focused on her work. She believed actions spoke louder than rumors. Then one day, a surprise email arrived. The company had been shortlisted for an international award, thanks to the campaign Maya helped lead. Raj wanted her to travel with the team to represent the company at the event. It would be her first trip abroad. When she told her mother's eyes filled with pride. You see, child, life always rewards the heart that helps others, Maya smiled. I'm scared, though. It's such a big responsibility. You were scared before your first job, too, her mother reminded her gently. And look how far you've come. The award ceremony was held in Singapore. Everything felt like a dream. The flight, the hotel, the grand event hall filled with people in suits and glittering dresses. Maya felt out of place at first, but Raj made sure she felt comfortable. You don't have to pretend to be anyone else, he said with a smile. You being you is enough. During the ceremony, when their company's name was announced as the winner, the entire team erupted in joy. Raj stood on stage to accept the award, and before leaving the mic, he said something that made Maya's heart stop. This award, he said, belongs not to me, but to a young woman in our team who reminds us what honesty and perseverance truly mean. She's an inspiration for all of us, Maya. The audience clapped and Maya's face turned red. She stood up shyly as everyone looked at her. Raj smiled warmly at her from the stage. Later, when the event ended, she walked up to him, still overwhelmed. Sir, you didn't have to say that. I meant every word, he replied calmly. You've earned your place here. That night, as she stood on the hotel balcony looking at the city lights, she felt something shift inside her. She had come so far from the girl who once missed an interview because she stopped to help a stranger, but she didn't know that the man she helped, back then, now her CEO, was about to make a decision that would change her life again. Back in India, Raj called for a board meeting. The company was expanding into new ventures, including a training program for young talents from small towns and villages. He proposed that Maya lead the project. The board members were surprised. She's young and new, one of them said. Are you sure she can handle such responsibility? Raj nodded firmly. She's the reason I'm starting this project, because people like her remind us that opportunity shouldn't depend on where you're from. When Maya was told about it the next day, she couldn't believe it. Sir, me? Lead the whole project? Yes, Raj said with a reassuring smile. You've been through that struggle yourself. Who better to guide others? She hesitated. I'm honored, sir, but I'm not sure I'm ready. You'll never feel ready, he said gently, but that's how growth works. Trust yourself. Her eyes softened. I'll do my best, sir. And she did. For the next several months, she poured her heart into the new project. She traveled to small towns, met students, spoke at colleges, and encouraged young people who had dreams but no support. Everywhere she went, she shared her story, not in pride, but to inspire. She never mentioned the CEO or her past connection with him, only that kindness and effort could change one's destiny. The program grew rapidly. News channels picked it up, praising the company's initiative. Maya's face started appearing in articles and interviews. She was humble through it all, always saying, I'm just doing what I love. One day, after returning from a long field trip, she found Raj waiting in her office. You've made me proud again, he said with a smile. The board's thrilled. You've turned an idea into a movement. Thank you, sir, she said sincerely. I just wanted to give back what I once received. He nodded slowly. And that's exactly why I trusted you. They stood there for a moment, in quiet respect, and not as boss and employee, but as two people who had once crossed paths at the right time. Later that evening, as she walked out of the office, she saw the sunset coloring the sky. It reminded her of that morning months ago, when she had first met him on the roadside, a stranger in need. She smiled to herself, realizing how strange life could be. The small act of stopping to help someone had shaped everything that followed. Sometimes, she thought, destiny doesn't shout. It whispers softly in moments we almost overlook. She didn't know what the future held. But she knew one thing: whatever came next, she would face it with the same heart she always had. And somewhere, Raj watched her leave the building, his heart filled with quiet admiration. He had met countless people in his journey, but this simple girl, and with her honesty, courage, and kindness, had reminded him of something he had almost forgotten: humanity. Months turned into a year, and the project that Maya led continued to grow beyond everyone's expectations. What started as a small idea soon became a movement that touched hundreds of lives. Students from small towns and remote villages began getting opportunities they had only dreamed of. Every time Maya saw their faces light up with hope, she felt the same joy she had once felt when Raj gave her a chance. She had found her purpose, helping others rise, just like she once did. The office had changed too. There were new faces, new ideas, and a different kind of energy. People often came to her for advice, not just about work, but about life. She had become someone others looked up to without even realizing it. One day, during a meeting with Raj and the board, the company announced the opening of a new foundation, a non-profit wing that would officially support education and employment for underprivileged youth. Raj looked across the table and said, "And I want Maya to lead it." There was silence for a moment. Some members nodded immediately, some hesitated, but everyone knew she was the right choice. Maya looked stunned. "Sir, this is huge," she said softly. "Are you sure?" Raj smiled. "You've already proved you can handle big things. This will be your next challenge." Her throat tightened slightly. "Thank you, sir. I'll do everything I can." "I know you will," he said. That evening, she called her mother, as she always did after big news. Her mother listened silently for a while and then said, "I always knew one day you'd do something that would make a difference. Your father would be so proud if he were here." Maya's eyes welled up. "I hope he's watching, Ma." "He is," her mother replied softly. "He always is." The new foundation launch became a big event. Media, guests, students. The hall was filled with people. A large banner behind the stage read, "Bright Path Foundation, Empowering Tomorrow." When Maya stepped on stage to speak, her hands trembled for a moment. She looked at the crowd, so many faces waiting to hear her story. She began simply, her voice calm but full of emotion. "A few years ago, I was just a simple girl from a small town. I didn't have much except a dream. On the day I thought my dream had ended, life surprised me in a way I could never imagine. I learned that helping someone in need doesn't make you lose time. It can lead you to your destiny." The hall was silent. Everyone listened closely. She continued, This foundation isn't just about money or jobs. It's about giving people hope. It's about believing that one good act can start a chain of miracles. Her words touched everyone. Even Raj, sitting in the front row, felt a lump in his throat. After the speech, when the applause finally faded, Raj walked up on stage. He looked at her with quiet pride and said, "You've come a long way, Maya. The company may have built this foundation, but your story gave it life." She smiled humbly. "It's all because you believed in me, sir." He shook his head slightly. "No, because you believed in yourself." That night, after the event ended, Maya stood alone for a while, watching the lights being turned off one by one. It had been such a long journey. From a stranger on the roadside to standing on a stage with a purpose, life had come full circle. Over the next few years, the foundation grew under her leadership. She traveled often, met hundreds of young people, and built partnerships with other organizations. Each success made her more confident, but she never lost her simplicity. One afternoon, while she was visiting a school in a small village, a young girl approached her shyly. "Ma'am," the girl said softly, "my mother always says that being kind is more important than being rich. Is that true?" Maya knelt down to her level and smiled. "It's very true. Kindness can make you rich in ways money never can." The little girl smiled, then handed Maya a small flower she had plucked from a nearby bush. "For you," she said. Maya took it gently. "Thank you. I'll keep it forever." Later, as her car drove away from the school, she looked out the window and thought about that girl's words. It reminded her of her own journey, how one kind act had started everything. Back at the company, Raj had been slowly stepping away from the daily operations. He was preparing for a transition, wanting new leaders to take over. But before leaving, he had one more surprise in mind. One morning, Maya received a message asking her to come to the main conference room. When she arrived, most of the senior staff were already there, along with Raj. He stood at the front, smiling calmly. "Today," he said, "marks a new chapter for this company. For years, we've built something we're proud of, and now it's time to pass it on to someone who represents everything we stand for: honesty, hard work, and heart." Maya watched him curiously. Raj turned toward her and said, "Maya, from today I'd like you to take charge as the executive director of the company's social initiatives, including the foundation. You'll have full authority to lead, plan, and grow it further." Maya froze. "Sir, I don't know what to say." "Say yes," he replied with a smile. "You've earned it." The room filled with applause. Some of the senior members shook her hand, others patted her shoulder, but Maya could barely speak. When the meeting ended, she quietly walked up to Raj. "Why me?" she asked softly. He looked at her, his eyes kind. "Because years ago, when I was just a man with a broken car on the side of the road, you stopped to help me when everyone else walked away. That moment told me everything about your character. I didn't know your name, your background, or your dreams, but I knew you were special." Maya's eyes glistened. "You never told me that you remembered." "I never forgot," he said simply. "You didn't help me because I was someone important. You helped because that's who you are, and that's exactly what the world needs more of." Tears rolled down her cheeks, but they were tears of gratitude. "Thank you for everything," she whispered. He smiled gently. "No, Maya, thank you for reminding me that success means nothing if we forget kindness." As the years went on, Maya became one of the most respected figures in her field. Her story spread far and wide, not because of fame or wealth, but because of its message, and that doing good, even in small ways, could change everything. She continued to live simply, still in the same modest home, still visiting her mother every weekend, still carrying the same quiet smile that had once caught the attention of fate itself. Sometimes, late at night, she would look at the stars from her balcony, just like she used to, and think of how far life had brought her. It always amazed her that all of it, every opportunity, every moment, had started with one simple decision to stop and help someone she didn't know. Life, she realized, was not about waiting for miracles. It was about being one for someone else, and in doing so, miracles found their way back.